Join the Discord, link down in the description. Thank you. Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be doing a Hunter exotic tier list inside of PvP. It's been about a year since I've done my tier list for all my classes, so we've done Titan and Warlock already, so Hunter is our last class here that we need to do. In terms of how we're going to be ranking them, at the top of the tier list we got Meta. This is the best of the best exotics. They are the most competitive. You're going to be using them in any situation where you're really trying to win. Good is overall the exotic is pretty, good. It gets the job done. Though it's not as overpowered or efficient as the meta options, it's still very strong, and I would never second guess somebody who's using this. Bad doesn't necessarily mean the exotic is terrible. It just means it has a specific niche that can come into play every now and then, but for the most part, it's just not really worth using over other exotics. Then awful is typically the exotics, like your PvE exotics and a few other exotics that just have no real purpose to be inside of PvP, doesn't really do anything at all, and is just terrible. Then lastly, we have good for sixes, because overall, there are some exotics that are just great in the chaotic environment of sixes, but aren't the greatest in the 3v3 or Rumble playlist, which this is based around those more competitive style game modes. But obviously I don't want to just blatantly put them in an awful category if it is good in sixes, because some of them obviously are. But without further ado, let's get into the tier list. So starting off with Aons. Aons with the Sector of Vigor are great. When allies die around you, you get class ability energy back, and when you revive a target, you get a full class ability. Overall, just like the other two classes, it's good. It's just an all-around good exotic, great for getting class ability back. Though on Hunters, it's not the best because you get your dodge back relatively quickly. It's great pairing with the acrobatic dodge, making it so you can constantly get radiant. And overall, it's just a good solid exotic that you don't really need to think much about. Assassin's Cal, I'm just going to put it in the bad category. I don't think it's necessarily awful. It does what it needs to do. You get your health back from the melee kill. You go invisible. Great with like things such as throwing knives. But there's some better exotics on the list. But I can see the utility for it. And especially, I guess, in sixes, it can be okay. But overall, it's just a bit of a niche exotic that isn't anything super crazy. Then we got Arthur's Embrace. This exotic is so good. A small part of me almost wants to put it in the meta tier, but we're just going to put it in good because the one-shot throwing knives, the ricochet, it is just such an underrated exotic in my honest opinion. And I'm so surprised I don't see these more, especially on some close-quarter maps where enemies like to kind of just sit around corners. It is just such a good exotic. I think it's teetering on the meta tier, but I'm just going to put it in good for right now. But whenever I play against somebody using these, it is so scary just because you never know when you're going to get one-shot by a knife. And it's just terrifying. It really is just terrifying and hard to deal with sometimes. Then we got Balance of Power. I don't know why the picture is like so bad, but it is what it is. Balance of Power is great for your Strand Hunters. It makes the clone a lot better. And overall, I'm just going to put it in good once again. It makes the clone very lethal. People can't really push you. And when you shoot at it, it will actually send out threadlings. It kind of turns the clone into the OG clone. And overall, it's just good. It makes the clone hunter on Strand just very strong. And yeah, not really much to say about this one. Balance of Power is just pretty good. Then we got Bombardiers. Bombardiers, I'm just going to put in the bad category. Overall, it's not awful. It can be great, again, pairing with the clone, doing an okay amount of damage. But it's just not really worth running most of the time. Yeah, you can slow targets and scorch targets and stuff. But for the most part, the bomb is going to be pretty useless. But it can see some play every now and then. Then we got Celestial Nighthawk. We're going to put it in awful. Taking away 2 of your golden gun shots, or 5 of them, depending on what Goldie you're using, isn't really worth it when you're already going to one-shot targets. Now, this one does have a little bit of niche play because you get bonus super energy for hitting precision hits, and then getting a kill will give you 33% of your super back. So it can kind of make it so you can get a bunch of supers, I guess. But for the most part, it's not really worth it. For something like sixes, I guess it'd be okay because you can take it off and then fire your Goldie, put it back on, and then get your super really fast. But in something like Trials and Comp, it's pretty awful. So it's like, it's okay in sixes, but only if you're really switching it out, so it's not really worth running most of the time. Now we have Dragon Shadow, and I used to main this one way back in the day, back in Forsaken and through most of Forsaken, and it is honestly a really good exotic, but the dodge cooldowns made it so you don't really have the buff up anywhere near as much as you used to. So it's just like, it's okay, but unless if you have ways to getting your dodge back like really quickly, like it can be good on Arc Strider, but then you have access to like Amplified and stuff. So it's like, yeah, the handling bonuses from this are amazing, but it's just not really worth running nowadays. I feel like if they extended the duration that the buff was active, it would be a lot better. But overall, getting a bunch of handling, getting a bunch of mobility, sliding further, the buffs on it are good. If it just got even a little bit of if it got a bit like a 5 to 7 duration buff, I think it could be put in the good tier. But as of right now, because the buff is only going to be active almost half the time, and that's if you're dodging on repeat non-stop, it's not really worth running in my honest opinion. Then we have Frosties. With Frosties, make it so you can get all your abilities back so fast. No matter what class you're playing, Frosties are good. They're just so good. The speed that you can get your dodge and all your abilities back is just absolutely absurd. Whether you're playing like a Duskfield Hunter or you're playing Grapple Hunter or even Invis Hunter, it's just really, really good. It's just, you don't need to think about it. You run around, get your abilities back really quickly, and just, you know, mess people up. Very good for ability spam. Then we got Gemini Jesters. And this one, I'm going to say, if you are by yourself, it's more so in the bad category. But if you can play with a coordinated team, I think it's good. Because being able to knock somebody's radar out and then telling your teammates, hey, let's push in now, can be very, very strong, especially on some close quarter maps. It honestly is just super good. You just need to have that team coordination. By yourself, I think it's okay. It's just okay pick, but I'm gonna just base them on the exotic, especially when you're using them as like as best you can. So we're just going to put it in the good category. Great for knocking out radar. Takes information away from the enemy team. Overall, Gemini Jesters are very good when used correctly. We got Gifted Conviction. I don't really think it's all that good. The damage reduction is okay that you can get from jolting people, but applying jolt is so few and far between. And yeah, you can use Ascent close to people, which is okay, but the damage from it, from the little skips that come out, don't really do a whole lot. And also, jolting people is very inconsistent unless if you are using a jolt shot weapon, which using your weapon for jolt shot is just kind of whatever. And the damage reduction doesn't really typically change that much in PvP. So great PvE exotic, but not that great in PvP. Then we got Graviton Forfeit, which is one of my favorite void exotics for solo play, because you're just get so many smokes, so much invis, just great for invis hunter. We all know how strong invis is inside of PvP. It will give you maximum recovery when you're invisible, increase reload speed when you're invisible, will make it so you get your smokes back very quickly, so you don't necessarily need to dodge next to somebody to get your smoke back, and overall extends invis's duration by a couple seconds. And it's just a really good helmet, especially in my opinion for solo play. I think there's a better exotic on this list for team play, but this one is superb. Now we got Guizen Vest. So back in the day, all this did was extend your spectral blades whenever you were in your super, but now it actually makes it so when you exit invis near a target, it will create a weakening smoke around you, kind of making it so you can, you know, defend yourself a little bit. It's okay. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but it's just not really worth running. It could be good for 6s, but for 3s, it's just kind of whatever. But 6s, it makes it so your spectral blades last a lot longer, and that like little smoke can actually make it so people can't really push in on you as much. This was a lot better when the smoke actually slowed people, but now that they can kind of just like fly through it, it applies a bit of a weakening effect to them. But overall, it's just nothing super crazy. Then we got Capri Sting. This will make it so you get wall hacks when you hit somebody with your smoke and increases your smoke damage. I'm going to put it, honestly, I kind of want to put it in the good category because it makes your smoke super lethal. But with the smokes getting a little bit of a nerf, we're just going to put it in the bad. I think it's in between good and bad, but we'll put it in the top of bad for right now, just because I think it is really lethal and makes your smoke essentially an insta kill. But for the most part, if you smoke somebody, you weaken them, you blind them, you're typically going to get the kill a lot of the time anyway. It's just obviously they can still kind of get away now that they're not slowed because smokes have obviously been nerfed. But I still think it's pretty good. I just don't think it's anywhere near as strong as it was. And the wall hacks are nice, but they don't last the longest, which is a good thing. I don't think wall hacks should last an absurd amount of time. So I think at the top of bad, maybe creeping into good, depending on the player you are, is a good spot for it. Then we got Knucklehead Radar. This is overall just another very good exotic. Though it got nerfed, making it so the wall hacks aren't as consistent on it, you still have your radar uptime all the time. You still get increased airborne effectiveness, and you still do get wall hacks when you break somebody's shields. And overall, it's just a good neutral game exotic. Overall, just fantastic, honestly. Then we got Liar's Handshake. Though it can be like all right in 6s, I'm just going to put it in the awful category. It's not really worth it. Having to punch somebody a second time or have them punch you to one punch them can come in handy every now and then, but for the most part, I don't really think it's all that worth it. It's, like I said, it's okay in 6s, but we're just going to put it in the awful tail. Not really worth running. Then we got Lucky Pants. These got a nice buff this year, making it so making them almost into like the peacekeepers of hand cannon exotics for hunters, which makes it so you get increased movement speed and slide distance and all that fun stuff when you have a hand cannon out. Just overall making them so good for hand cannon players. Just absolutely absurd. Hand cannons are obviously very strong. Then you get the increased accuracy bonuses, plus all the other, giving all your hand cannons essentially quick draw on them. Lucky Pants are just a very good exotic for any hand cannon user out there. Then we have Mask of Bacchus. Mask of Bacchus will make it so when you're on your Stasis or Prismatic Hunter, it turns their dodge into a shift teleport, and when you exit it, you get a damage bonus. It's another just really good exotic. It can break people's ankles, and the damage bonus can shift time to kills of other weapons. Just overall very good. Hunters overall have a very strong start here, but there's some in here that are definitely a little lackluster. Though we started strong, doesn't mean we're going to end it. Then we got Mask of Fealty. Now this one, it can have some very interesting plays. So whenever you throw a shuriken with this one, it will actually leave a little ice crystal, which can make for some neat plays where you can just sit on walls at spots that people wouldn't expect, or you can throw it at your feet and you can kind of hide in your ice crystals. They're very niche plays, but they can make for some funny clips. They don't really come into play all that often. So I'm just going to put it in the awful, though it can make for some funny plays and memes. It's not really worth running an entire exotic for that most of the time. It could be kind of fun, I guess, in quick play to go for like some crazy cloud strike plays on points that people wouldn't expect. But for the most part, it's just kind of a fun exotic that you can run around with and get on weird angles with. Then we got Oathkeepers. If you're a bow main, it's like meta for you. But overall, because bows are just in an interesting spot, in my mind, bows are kind of whatever, unless if you're running Archer's Gambit. I think if you're running an Archer's Gambit bow, that's super strong and honestly a little, maybe too strong, but nonetheless. So I'm going to put it in the good just because most of the time bows are kind of just whatever. And then if you're using an Archer's Gambit bow, then it goes more so in the meta tier for me. But for every other bow in the game, it's just good. It's just a good exotic to have. It buffs up bows a decent amount. I don't necessarily think it's mandatory, but it makes it so you can draw them just that much quicker, which overall is your DPS of a bow, right? So overall, pretty good. Then we got Omni Oculus. I'm going to put this right in the meta tier. It is so good, making it so you can have constant uptime on your invis. When we were talking about Graviton Forfeit being like a really good for a solo play, I think Omni Oculus is amazing for team play, making it so you always have a smoke for your invis, then getting some damage reduction for you and your team whenever you're invis. Omni is so strong. And though it's been nerfed pretty heavily, it is still so good. In my honest opinion, the damage reduction was obviously very broken and needed a nerf. But the main thing on this exotic that I think needed the nerf was getting 50% of your smoke back for every single person you made invis. So if you invis 2 people, that isn't yourself, of course, you get a full smoke back. So you can just keep spamming that invis out over and over and over again. It is so good. And just makes it so you and your team constantly have uptime on invis. Then we got Ophidia Spaith, and this is a really good exotic for quick play. It makes it so your knives can do increased damage, and you can actually get to the point where they can one-shot headshot. Just really good for quick play. Not the greatest for anything outside of that. I think it's truly awful for Trials of Osiris or comp. Sometimes you can really get the chain rolling and get the 2 kills and all that fun stuff. But for the most part, it's not really worth running for anything outside of quick play. But yeah, overall good. Very good. Then we got Orpheus Riggs. It's awful. It's a PvE exotic. You get your tether a little bit faster, but this requires 1 for you to get your super, and then 2 tether a lot of different targets to get a chunk of super energy back. And especially 3v3, this is not worth it. And in 6v6, the amount of energy you get back for an already kind of lackluster super isn't really worth it. Then we got Radiant Dance Machines. This is another meta tier exotic. Though they nerf the hipfire bonuses, it's still very good. And the fact that you can get a kill and just keep chaining your dodges over and over and over again, meaning you can pretty much have a super high uptime on your dodge cooldown, which is a very strong ability, either getting you your melee back, reloading your weapon, or just moving you out of a position. It's just so good. Radiant Dance Machines, obviously before this patch, were like triple tiers above meta, but like right now they're really good. They're very solid, giving you all the buffs that you can get from them. Radiant Flux, another PvE exotic, not the greatest. It can make your Arc Strider last a very long time, which isn't like too bad, especially for quick play. But for the most part, you're only getting 1 super a game. Not really worth running, even in something like 6s. Then we got Raiju's Harness. This is a Gathering Storm exotic, another PvE one, not really worth running. Can get you a fair amount of Gathering Storm energy, but for the most part, yeah, I see 0 reason to run this one inside of PvP. Then we got Sealed Umkar's Grass. Now this one got a rework like a good bit ago, making it so you can actually get a pretty crazy damage bonus whenever you get a powered melee final blow. And it will also increase your handling and your airborne effectiveness. It's definitely not the greatest, but I'm either going to put it in good in 6s or bad. I think it could be pretty good in 6s, getting a constant damage bonus, getting a bunch of melee kills, all that fun stuff. But for something like 3v3, it definitely goes more so in the bad category, but it can be a lot of fun in 6s. That's like 100% for sure. We got Shards of Galanor. Now this will make it so you get super energy based on how many people you hit with your Blade Barrage, but then it will also give you a chunk of super energy whenever you get a throwing knife kill. So I'm going to put it right in the good in 6s. It can make it so you can get so many blade barrages. You pair it with cryosthesia and then you're ready to go. You're just going to be getting so many supers. I've used this to get like 4 to 5 supers in a game before, and it is so underrated how many supers you can get, especially if you're getting lots of throwing knife kills. With the recent buff to throwing knives, it actually makes it even easier. So you don't even necessarily need to use cryo to really get the active bonuses of these. Overall, just very underrated pick in 6v6. Then we got Shinobu's Vow. These are trash, not very good. Skip grenades are just, they're not very good for whatever reason. Before Arc 3.0 came out, Bungie kind of just gutted skip grenades. Why they did that, I don't really know. I think they might have been scared of some of the interactions with skips in Arc 3.0. I have no idea, but they're terrible. You should almost never run skip grenades. They are awful. Then we got 6 Coyote. This will give you a second dodge. It's a good exotic. I don't think it's the most worth it in the world compared to some of our other picks, but getting an extra dodge, depending on what class you're running, can be very beneficial, whether it gives you, extra radiant or you're spawning a clone with your Strand Hunter. Overall, just an extra dodge and extra utility definitely is never a bad thing. And overall, just means you are always loading one, because even if you have a dodge, you're still loading a second one, meaning you'll just almost always have a dodge up, which is super nice. Then we got Star Eaters, another PvE exotic, right in the awful tier. It can buff up your damage, but can occasionally help you and can give you some extra super energy as well from Orbs of Power. So like I could see an argument for someone saying, hey, it's not bad for 6s, but again, it's not really worth using this just because you get a little extra super from Orbs of Power and the occasional damage bonus being able to help you depending on what super you're using. It's a PvE exotic. Just don't worry about this one. Then we got Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves. This is our sidearm exotic, making our sidearms feel really good and giving you a constant damage bonus whenever you pull out a sidearm when you're weak, which is pretty easy to proc. Overall, it's just good. It's really good if you like sidearms and just makes them overall feel amazing. And the damage bonus can help out very consistently. Overall, the damage bonus can help out a lot. And as well as you can keep it going as long as you get lots of kills. Very good if you are a sidearm enjoyer. It's kind of like these other ones where it's, if you like the weapons, you might as well throw these on. Then we got Wormhusk, which is overall just another really good exotic, giving you a chunk of health back, giving you 66, if I remember correctly, every single time you dodge, meaning you can push into really sticky situations and get out alive a lot of times, and overall is just a very good exotic, even though it is very, very ugly. Then we got Young Kara's Spines. This will buff up your Trip Mine, and they got buffed however many months ago, making it a lot better, kind of back to how it was before, and they're very good again. Honestly, Young Kara's Spines just makes your Trip Mine so lethal. It makes it so you can get so many Trip Mines. The damage that these things can do is pretty absurd and great for just holding down areas. Now, the Trip Mine isn't as tanky as it used to be. It overall just makes your Trip Mine so good and lethal, and I honestly love using these things, especially on any form of smaller map. Then we got Blight Ranger. This is another super based exotic. You can kind of exit your super early to get an arc debuff and make a super burst around you, but it's not that great. I would never really use this in PvP. It can be okay making it so you can block for a very, very long time, but just not really worth it, even for things like quick play. Then we have Caliban's Hand, and this will make your proximity knife apply 60 Scorch, which means you can go for some pretty fun solar ignition builds. I don't necessarily think it's the greatest or the most consistent, but we'll either put it in good in 6s or bad. It's definitely bad for like 3v3, but I think it can actually be pretty decent in 6s, getting you a lot of explosions and overall just making for super fun plays with the proximity knife. And if you miss your proximity knife, it will make it so you get one back really quick as long as it sits on the ground, getting a 500% base melee recharge speed when it sits there. So overall, just pretty good for 6s. How much utility you're going to get from this exotic will definitely vary depending on the map, but it can be pretty good for control, especially where people will be funneling into like one spot a lot of the time, and you can get constant explosions. And then we got Surd Arachne Facade. This will make it so whenever you have your Woven Mail, you get increased flinch resistance, as well as give you Woven Mail when you grapple. Woven Mail is like a pretty good buff, and overall this makes it so you can live shotgun blasts a lot easier. I feel like I'm gonna put this one probably in the top of bad. I think it could teeter into good, but we're just gonna put it in bad for right now because there's just so many good hunter exotics that it's like, would I really want to use this one over something like Mask of Bacchus or Balance of Power? Probably not, especially because like the only thing that I think it's necessarily really good for is getting that Woven Mail flying in. You can typically survive a shotgun. But overall, I just don't see the value in it the most because it's like that anti-flinch when you have Woven Mail is okay, but it's not the most noticeable, especially because you typically want to be flying in with this thing. So you're not really going to be typically in huge gunfights, but it happens every now and then. I don't know. It's just like, it's a good exotic. It could be a good exotic sometimes, but overall, just compared to all the other exotic in good, it feels like it belongs in the meh or bad tier. So we're just going to put it in the top of here. And I could see an argument for good. Then we got G-Falcon, which is great for PvE. Volatile rounds don't really do the most for you. It's good if you use Stylus Executioner to get invis and wall hacks, but other than that, it's kind of whatever. I don't think it's truly awful, but again, we're just going to put it in the bad tier. The volatile rounds don't typically do a whole lot for you, but they can help you because of Stylus Executioner. Then we have the exotic class item. I think this is meta. It's very strong. It's got things like Ophidia on it. It has Wormhusk on it, even though the Wormhusk isn't anywhere near as potent as the actual exotic. It has 6 Coyote on it. It has a slew of really good exotics, making it very good if you're playing on that prismatic class. Then we got Renewal Grasp, which I think actually is good for Stasis Hunter. Being able to increase that size of Duskfield grenades is very good. And overall, being able to get some Frost Armor very easily, especially because it got buffed not too long ago, making it so the stacks increase, like you get them at an increased rate, isn't like too bad. I do think these things got nerfed from when they originally released, because I think Frost Armor is like okay, but I think the damage reduction that it had when it first like launched, the second you entered the dust field, you had that damage reduction. You didn't need to wait for it to stack up, was definitely stronger. But just the increased size, crystal, and Frost Armor, the ease of Frost Armor, just makes this thing very good for any Stasis Hunter. And Stasis Hunter is just so strong on smaller maps. Being able to just slow people down with an even bigger and more powerful dust field is just very strong. Then we got Speed Loaders, which they follow a very similar pattern to Dragon Shadow, but you can actually get these ones buff up a little bit easier by hitting headshots, and it gives you increased AE, and overall, we're just, again, going to put it in the good tier, because it's a better Dragon Shadow, in my honest opinion. The handling bonuses aren't as crazy, but the uptime on these is way longer, and you can give it to your teammates. So overall, Speed Loaders is just a bit of a better Dragon Shadow. Like overall just better. All right, now we are up to Stompies. Now, before we get into this, last time I did a tier list, I put Stompies in the good tier, right? And people lost their minds. They acted like I shot their mother or something, or I put it in like the awful category. But no, I just put them in the good category, and people got very, very upset I did not put them in meta. And I'm here to inform you, I still have not changed my mind. I don't think these things are top of the tier list. I think they're very good. Like, I'm going to say it again, just because somebody is going to freak out. I think Stompies are very good. I don't think Stompies are necessarily the most oppressive or strongest thing in the game. They give you increased slide and movement speed and an increased jump, like vertical jump, making it so you can, ape a little bit harder and move just a little bit quicker. But that capability has been nerfed. It's still pretty fast, but not what it once was. And I don't see this thing being super oppressive. I never die to somebody who's using Stompies and go, oh darn, Stompies. And I don't know. I just don't see how these things are super meta. I can understand if maybe you're more of a console or a controller player, especially a lower sense one, how these things can be a little difficult to you, but maybe a little bit of elitist take. If you're dying to Stompies and you are a lower sense controller player, you're putting yourself in a bad position. So it's just like, I would rather play against a Stompy Hunter than an Omni Hunter, if I'm going to be real, or even a Radiant Dance Machine Hunter. I think these exotics provide way more utility than Stompies ever did, if we're going to be honest here. So you're never going to change my mind on the Stompies. They're very good. I said it again, but they are not meta in my honest opinion. And that is okay. We can have different opinions. You can think these things are the best exotic to ever grace this game, and that is okay. That is why we are people. We have opinions. So we're just going to put the Stompies in the top of good tier. They are very good. All right, we got the Moth Keepers. It's just not a really good exotic. It's very bad. They can give you an occasional blind or overshield for you and your team. Not really worth running inside of PvP. They don't do enough for you, and they take away your grenade. It can be fun, but meh. Then we got Folk Tracer, which can give you a damage bonus whenever you hit an ability. You hit a solar ability, it'll give you a solar surge bonus for 6%. Overall, it's not too bad. I think there's some builds where this can be like pretty good, but for the most part, we're just going to put it in the bad. It does what it needs to do, and depending on the weapon you're using, it can be very beneficial, but it's not really worth running most of the time. Then we got Lucky Raspberry. It's just not a very good exotic. It just makes your arc bolts a little bit more lethal, but arc bolts aren't particularly the most meta. I personally like the grenades a little bit, but they're not really worth using your whole exotic slot on getting them. Then we got Tortin's Vice, our final exotic on the list, and this is our glaive exotic. Now, the glaives actually I think are a little underrated in PvP, but the thing is I don't think this exotic really does a whole lot for the glaive. Like, it makes the projectile explode a little bit and then increases its damage, but I don't really see the value of it all that much inside of PvP. I think the glaives for the most part are fine and do not need to use this, and most people I see using a glaive aren't using these gauntlets. They're typically using another exotic that can help them a little bit with their movement capabilities or something that can help them get the finish off, and it's just not really worth using these glaive gauntlets, even when you're using a glaive inside of PvP. And this is the tier list. Hello, everybody that just skipped to the end of the video to see how the tier list is looking. This is the tier list. Be sure to like and subscribe. I see you. I know that you're coming to the end of the video. You do it with all of them. But anyway, overall, I think Hunter has a lot of really good exotics and then a lot of really bad exotics. But overall, it's, in my opinion, pretty balanced. Hunter has a lot of different playstyles and exotics that they can use. And even the bad ones aren't that bad. Like, I can see utility, and I've made builds for most exotics in this list, and they're still good. But the truly awful ones are all really, really bad, to be honest with you. None of these are really worth using. And then even the 6s ones are kind of just okay for the most part, but it makes up for it because just some of these exotics are so good. They're just so good. But if you do agree with my tier list, let me know. If you think I made a mistake, I'm sure I'm going to get slews of comments about the stompies, but this is the tier list. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and you all have a good rest of your day.